Good morning. We invite those people in the narthex to make their way to their seats, please. It's my pleasure to welcome you this morning. Just a couple of quick announcements. A reminder to the ladies for the Christmas dinner. I believe it's on the 28th, and the cost is $20. Also this morning, any loose change that is put on the offering plates will go to sleeping children around the world. The outreach team is pleased that you were able to join us today on this, our mission-focused Sunday. We are thrilled to have Sue and Jeff with us to share their experience in India, delivering bed kits for sleeping children around the world. This is a mission that has been important to Knox for many years and continues to be. Just 2 weeks ago, we gave a bed kit to recognize the baptism of Keegan. Sue, you may remember that can you put on the counter in the alley when we first opened. That can of change has produced 78 bed kits. We are grateful for your dedication to sleeping children around the world. Let us begin our worship. This day we celebrate small things: a seed dropped, a hug shared, a gift given. Small, perhaps even insignificant things in the counting of humankind. But in God's grace, the seed fallen to earth is nurtured by soil and rain and sun to become a tree, a shade for the weary, shelter and home for the birds of the air. In God's grace, a hug shared becomes a chain of love expressed, person to person, heart to heart. In God's grace, one gift is joined by another, multiplied and shared, sending hope around the world. We celebrate small things, seeds of God's love growing to great things in us. Let us join together in singing our opening hymn, number 759, in Loving Partnerships. Let us join together in our opening prayers. Holy One, ever-creating God, small things count in your kingdom. Granules of yeast leavened bread, A tiny mustard seed becomes a great tree. A humble meal of 2 fishes and 5 loaves provides a feast for a multitude, and there are no leftovers. We hold within us small seeds of hope, the promise of joy, and the possibility of great love. Within your grace, we are a people of abundance. Holy One, send your Spirit into our lives that hope may blossom, joy spill over, and love hold all people of this earth. Holy One, grant us your presence. We confess, O God, that we have not lived up to the high call of Christian service, where we have turned away from others' needs, where we have refused to others' hurts, where we have to proclaim good news. Good God, forgive us. Amen. May the peace of Christ be with you. Let us greet one another.
Sorry. Sorry.
How are you, kiddo? I still haven't done this. Good attention.
Yeah. She's a person that her age may say one thing, but her soul is not that age. It's scary. Here we go.
While the choirs are seated, I forgot to thank David again for filling in so capably in the absence of Suzanne, and we do hope she's feeling better soon. And now we're going to join in singing a familiar children's chorus, and I would ask you to do note that we have taken the liberty of adding some of our own words to this. So we will sing it through twice, and the children can come forward, and Sue's going to share something about bed kits with them. So let's stand and sing Jesus Loves the Little Children of the World, and we'll sing it through twice.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
This is like coming full circle for me, because years ago I used to do the children's story here. There's a few things happening here for me, because Jeff and I were married here about 26 years ago, and we don't walk down that aisle very often together anymore, but we did this morning. So this morning, what I brought for the children's time is a bed kit that we deliver in India. And I thought that maybe you two could help go down the aisle and show the congregation all of the items of the bed kit. And I'll explain what the important things are about that. So you go ahead and you take out whatever you would like. And you gotta take them all out eventually. You might have to open that backpack up. So let's start with this one. Maybe you could do this one together. Do you want to grab the other side for a minute? Do you guys know what this is? It's a mat, and it's made out of a kind of a plastic, and this goes as your mattress. So you would sleep on this in India. And do you know why that's super important in India? They have hard sand. Most of the homes that Jeff and I went to visit after our distribution, they actually sleep on something called cow dung floors. So they believe the cow is very important in India, and they use the cow's poop, I guess I can say that, and they pack it down really hard, and that's what the kids sleep on. So this mat is super important in India to keep those kids safe from disease. So let's just place that down here. Okay, pick out something else. You can open it up. When we go to a distribution, we normally do this as well. We would explain to the children, and there's usually 500 waiting at the time. And when that backpack gets pulled out, the screams are unbelievable. They are so excited. So do you know what you got in your hands there in the yellow? It's a raincoat. Again, not so important when we go and visit in January and February, but when the rainy season comes, super important. Now you are pulling out the start of some of the school supplies. Again, these kids would never, you can just throw them right on the mat, would likely never get a clipboard like that. You're pulling out dresses. There's 2 outfits that are given to the girls and to the boys. but one's a petticoat, one's a dress. And if a girl is a little older, because in India, there's a certain age that they'll change, and then they wear these pants like I'm wearing underneath all of their outfits. And that's what they have right here. And they sometimes do head coverings as well. And you've got some sweaters, and this is the head covering. And a sweater, we also go always to visit the sweater factory. This employs at least 25 people. So when he gets his annual renewal for jobs for 7,000 sweaters, it's very important to this man and his company, and he's very appreciative of the money that we send there. So these are the other things that kids get most excited about. You guys might not care so much, but in India, if you have books and pencils and a geometry set, this is like gold to you. Keep going, you got lots to go. Here's the boys' outfits, shorts and shirts, all made in India. Anything else? Pens and a pencil sharpener. Things we might take for granted here, but certainly not over there. And another shirt for the boys. And toenail clipper. Again, something you might not think is useful, but it's very useful there. Another thing I wanted to point out, so they keep pulling out all of this stuff. This stuff in India translates to $35 Canadian. So if our dollar is strong, that bed kit gets bigger. This is probably the most expensive item in the bed kit. It's a net, it's a mosquito net. And you would sleep under it. There you go. And if you got a bed kit, you would probably sleep under it, but your whole family would sleep under it, because this will keep you safe. And Sleeping Children brings nets to every single country because they are so vitally important to keep the kids safe, and they are a requirement from the World Health Organization. They help the mosquitoes and malaria to keep the population of the mosquitoes down so kids don't get sick. That's a pillow and a pillowcase. And now you're getting into the fancy blankets. Again, you might not think that's something needed in India because we all think it's very hot, but as hot as it can get very cold. Sometimes when we come we always try to do random checks of the bed kits. Oh, that's just showing an example of what $35 Canadian gets you. But sometimes when we go to check the bed kit recipients afterwards, like a year later or 2 years later, we'll go, what did you like the best? And we quite often will find one blanket not used with the girls. And we'd go, well, you're supposed to use the whole kit. And they will say, but eventually I'm going to get married and I have to bring something to the marriage. So we want to keep a special blanket. And they will keep the blanket until their marriage day. That's how important a bed kit is. Is that everything? Awesome. So there is where $35 Canadian gets you for a bed kit in India. Thank you guys very much.
The first Bible reading this morning is 1 John 3, verses 17 and 18. But if a man has enough to live on, and yet when he sees his brother in need shuts up his heart against him, how can it be said that the divine love dwells in him? My children, love must not be a matter of words or talk. It must be genuine and show itself in action. St. John told his friends, if people are well off in worldly possessions and see their neighbors in need, but close their hearts to them, how can the love of God be remaining in them? Jesus, you who healed the sick, fed the hungry, and spoke words of hope, grant us the grace to live generously from what we have, and whether of our money, time, talents, joy, or hope. You give us all that we have and intend that we share with our brothers and sisters. Teach us generosity and openness of heart and action. The second reading is Matthew 25, 35 to 45, and it's on page 702 in your Pew Bible. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me." Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. I needed clothes, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not look after me." They also will answer, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or needing clothes or sick or in prison and did not help you?" He will reply, "I tell you the truth. Whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me." If people are, wrong one. Jesus always took special care of the hungry, poor, thirsty, homeless, and imprisoned people. Our salvation is determined by how we treat them. He warns us, "So far as you neglected to do it to me." By identifying yourself with prisoners, homeless folks, victims of hunger and thirst, you made clear the path to you. That path will take us on a search for justice to soup kitchens, to shelters, and the streets. Help us see you, Jesus, in all people, especially in your poor people.
All right, I'm back again. So what we thought we'd do this morning, Jeff and I are going to share this presentation. Normally I go to schools and other churches and I do a PowerPoint presentation. And this morning he came along with me and he's going to tell some of his stories. Because as I said, we chose not to do any gifts for our 25th wedding anniversary. Our gift was for him to come on a trip with sleeping children around the world with me. And he came to India, and he says he'll come in the next 25 years. He can't. So why I began Sleeping Children has to all come back to Knox. I was working in the Sunday school many, many years ago, and I remember Dale Bass was up here, and they were making a presentation, and I sat in the pews, and I thought, I don't really know if I believe the 100%. It's really hard to do. So I took the challenge on and I asked if I should go on a trip. And there is a 3-year waiting list still to this day to go on a trip with sleeping children around the world. But I am a team leader now, and I have been able to go to Kenya, Bangladesh, Togo, India, and then when I went back to India, that's when I became a team leader. So I've been on 8 trips, 9 distributions, and I have taken on the leadership to go to the Philippines next spring. So very thrilled that Sleeping Children is something that I'm able to do. So we'll begin. Again, it is the 100% charity. So if you give $35, I guarantee you 100% of that $35 goes to that bed kit. So all the money is sent over before. So in India, when we're there in February, the money is sent over in September, October. So people there are provided with jobs. These are all the places that Sleeping Children goes. I've actually taken on another leadership role with Sleeping Children, and I'm on the distribution committee. What we really need at Sleeping Children is to find more countries. A lot of Canadians have been very generous with their gifts, and we need to make sure that we spend their gifts in 1 year. So luckily this year, every single distribution site, with the exception of one, has 7,000 kits going. These are the typical items in the bed kit. I'm going to also mention that they choose their items. We in Canada don't say, no, this is important to you. They tell us what's important, and a bed kit is different in India than it is in Africa. The history of ska, you guys will know. You've had Murray Dryden here, you've had Dave Dryden here. And that is their home in Pinehurst Crescent. I was there yesterday. We still do seminars there all the time. It is also dedicated to free will giving. So we will never put you on a mailing list. You will get a receipt. You can do online donations now and get them emailed to you. So then we arrived in Mumbai, and I'm going to have Jeff come up and talk about his arrival in Mumbai.
So I've never done a mission trip before, and as Sue said, we'd do it for our 25th. And we arrived in Mumbai. Well, Mumbai or Bombay, they have 2 different names for it, it's so big. The population is bigger than all of Canada. So when you arrive there, and I said, what's the population? 36 to 42 million. I said, well, it's kind of a big spread. It changes so quickly that they just have no idea. But it's one city the size of Canada population-wise. So we arrived there, and you can see the living quarters. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was a shock to all of us to see how it was. And they were living in, you walk down the street and there would be cardboard boxes with entire families in it, plus they'd have their little store there. And that's how they were living. And we were there, it was 100 degrees every day, and they were wearing sweaters and long pants because they were a little bit chilly. And I was wearing, this is chilly in here today, that's not chilly. So modes of transportation, when we were over there, it's 8 lanes of traffic in 4 lanes. It's absolute chaos. There's no way any of us could ever drive in it. Not only are there 8 vehicles beside each other in 4 lanes, but then you have cows standing in the middle of it. You've got people with their hay and everything else in the middle, and they're going 100 miles an hour, and people trying to cross. We almost got nailed a few times, but to them it's just normal. We came back to Toronto, and for all of us small town people, we hate driving to Toronto. When we came back to Toronto, we were like, well, this is a piece of cake now. It was just, I've never seen anything like it. This right here would be 2 cars. I don't know how they fit in there, but it was just crazy in there. There, that was actually that wasn't common. Usually there's a whole lot more cows. And it can be right downtown Mumbai, where there'll be the biggest intersection there, downtown Yonge Street, Toronto, and you could have 20 cattle just standing there, and nobody even acknowledges them. It's just part of life, and it's so important to them in so many ways that it's just the way it is. So this was the group of us. There were 7 of us. Excuse me. There were 7 of us that came over. Most of us were from Ontario. A couple were from BC. 5 ladies and 2 men. The 2 men, we were rookies, and the ladies made sure that we knew that we were rookies and that we just were to do what we were told. Just like here, right? Yes. So this was the very first bed kit I gave out. I think the order got changed up a little bit. If you can go to the our first location. There. Sorry. So we all arrived, and we're going to our first spot, and we arrive in a bus. And it's never a smooth ride because you're in the back country, and you're just going, you have nowhere near where you're going. We were based in a small town because when we were in Mumbai, they said, you're going to a village, so you'll be a lot more relaxed. Well, that small town was 1 million people, and to them, that's a village. Then we get out into the nowhere land, and you're in this bus for a few hours, and you leave early in the morning, and you get there, and you arrive, and I said, it's now what you know like to feel like Justin Bieber or the Beatles, because you arrive, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people, and they're just swarming to get to you. They just want to touch you. They just want to thank you. And we've done nothing. We're just arriving there. We arrive, and we're looking at all these people, and the ladies are just going, hang on, guys, just you wait. And the other guy, Neil's about this tall, so we look very different, the two of us, and we stuck out. We're the only two white guys in the entire country. And we said, yeah, okay, fine. They said, no, wait till you walk in. So we walk into this room, which is about the size of this place here, and you see all these white things here. These are the bed kits. The first one we did was for 500 kids. We walk in from underneath that balcony, and we see all these bed kits and nothing else. All of a sudden, we start to hear this roar, and Neil and I are kind of walking along, and there's 500 kids sitting up top in that balcony. And the cheer you got from it was something I've never felt or seen in my life. I mean, there's clapping and cheering and thanking people, but you could feel the love and the emotion from every kid there. And I looked down at Neil, and he's doing this, and he's trying to hide. He's got tears just running down his face. And I just hit him, and I said, look at me. And I'm bawling my eyes out, and I don't get emotional very often. And it was one of the most emotional times of our lives, and we just stood there, and we went, this is crazy, because the kids just wanted to thank us. And they didn't even know what they were going to get yet in these bed kits. And then the organizers said, okay, and Sue said, all right, you stay down here, don't go up there, don't get them wound up, because they're under control and they're up in the balcony. Well, of course, Neil and I, whoosh, up we go. We run up there, and there's 500 kids running, jumping all over us, and it was an incredible experience. What they get, what Sue showed here, is 50 Christmases for us. All in one day is what they get. And you don't realize that until you have that experience. And so you showed the picture of the first bed kit that so that's the first person that I ever gave a bed kit to. And he could hardly walk, he could hardly talk, and all he wanted to do was grab me. And they always take the first picture of your first bed kit. And it was just like, every kid was like that. The kids would want to kiss your feet, they'd want to hug you, they want to thank you. They couldn't speak English, but they just knew how to communicate. And this kid here, he was the first one to come through. They had to carry him, but he was so excited that it was, again, like 50 Christmases all at once. This little girl here, she was the star of the day. She was the cutest little thing, and that dress will never come off her. She will wear that every day. We met a girl, Sue and I went to one of the houses, and the girl, Sue had given it to her the year before, and it was completely black now because she'd never taken it off. It was her only dress that she'd ever worn. She was so proud of it. She wore it every day.
So I'll just continue on. So our job as traveling volunteers, the only thing that I ever bring back to Canada is our computer, and it has your pictures on it. And I have to tell you, it's pretty heartwarming when you are over there and you see donated by Knox Alleyway. It really does really get you. We make the day special for children. We don't choose who gets the bed kits. The people in the main areas get to choose, and they do have a criteria that they want to keep it 50% boys to girls. I think we'll talk about that in a minute. But we want to make the day special. So as Jeff said, he gets there and he gets to play with these kids, and you get more out of doing this than I've ever done in anything in my life. Again, the bed kits are made locally. It gives the people jobs. They want their work. There's no shipping costs or anything like that. It is a twofold, maybe even threefold gift that you are helping Rotary Club in India, you are helping get jobs, and you are providing a child with a good night's sleep. So the kids get bed kits that are 6 to 12. That was one thing that was mentioned yesterday at Sleeping Children. In Africa, There's a statistic that every 45 seconds a child dies of malaria. So at the age of 5, if you've made it past then you can go to school. And again, this bed kit is super important. If you were to give this bed kit to a kid in India on the street, you would likely have it sold off within the day. 50% boys to girls. I love that statistic. And it's 1 bed kit per family because they really do share this bed kit. And then we go into the homes. It's a really sunny day out, so you can't really see it, but there's cow dung floors. There's no stoves in there. Well, there's a stove, but it's with fire, and I'm surprised that more of the women don't have chest problems. And then we verify, and we go to the villages. So Jeff's first time in a village was pretty awesome.
So I don't know if you can see this, but on, I guess, your right, we're just leaving from a little hut, and the lady that was there, she made sure we came to see her place. She was so proud, and she has a garden, and it's a little steel shack, and we thought it was the kid's grandma, and the lady was about 44 years old, and she was about 90. It's a tough life they have over there. And she wanted us to see her garden, and she has a little garden in front of this steel shed, and it's got 2 flowers in it, but they were growing. And she was so proud, she just wanted to make us come over, so we had to cross over on that bridge. On the other side, we go to this little village, and it really is a little village, and it's all about having fun with the kids, because we stick out like a sore thumb when they're really not sure who we are and what we're about. Imagine the Rothwell family arriving there. I mean, it's quite a thing. And so we got there, and you feel like the Pied Piper. The kids and the parents and everybody are just following you. And so there was a bike there. So I hopped on the bike to bike down the main street, and I look behind me, and there's just 30, 40, 50 kids chasing after me, hooting and hollering, yelling and screaming. And we go past this little hut, and it's got a whole thing of bananas hanging there. And I turned to Sue and I said, we need to buy these bananas for everybody. I don't know how much money it costs, but whatever it takes, let's get these bananas and we'll hand them all out. So we fed an entire village of kids bananas for $2. And again, it was like the biggest feast they could ever dream of. They were so excited. They just kept coming and coming. I don't know where they all came from. We just kept buying them bananas. So we bought the whole store of bananas, and it cost us $2. So then we continue, we're walking down through the little village, and the most random thing happens because it is so hot and they don't know how to keep anything cold. There's a guy on a bicycle with a cooler full of ice cream. Well, nobody can afford ice cream over there, but he's got this whole big cooler of ice cream. And my friend Neil says, all right, it's my turn. So he went and bought ice cream for all the kids. And ice cream is very expensive there. So to feed all the kids, we figured there was about 30 to 40 kids that were with us at that point. It cost them $5. And again, it was the biggest treat they'd ever had in their life. So we now own this village, right? I mean, they just think we're the greatest people in the world, but it was just fun. It was fun, and they were having fun, and they brought us into their communities, and we had to see all their homes and everything like that, and you become part of India. This is the Rotarian group of Belgaum. So the way it works is in each country, there's some group that you deal with. And in India, it's Rotary Club. And it's all men that are there, and they are quite an amazing group. They're gentlemen that own factories, lawyers, accountants. They've all done very well. And they worked with us every day. And I will tell you, I learned more about India from them and the bed kit stuff than you would do about any country you'd ever go to. We learned about it as if we were a local. And these guys here are all about helping their country. And I said to them, I said, so we're here from Canada helping the country, but there's so many of you that are not helping your own country. And a lot of people ask me that why are we not just giving money into Canada ourselves instead of giving money to the rest of the world? And he said, we never had money until about a generation or two generations ago. People in Canada and the United States have had money for many generations, and you've learned how to give money back. We're just learning how to do that now. And you give us another generation or two, and we'll have it figured out, and we'll be doing what you're doing for our people right now. They're working hard at it. They're doing a lot. They know they have a long way to go. But as I tell people, help them out. You know what? No matter what thing you donate to, whether it's financially or on a trip, just know you're doing something that you have no idea how great it is until you actually do it. If you can physically do it, I will say you should go do a mission trip, because we learned so much, and I learned so much, that I'm going to go back in 25 years, as Sue said, to do it again. But India was an amazing spot, and these people here treated us like kings and do a lot for their country.
So I'll just finish off with a few more slides. So that Rotary Club of Belgram is the most important part, because they have to meet the Canadian standards so that when we send over a large amount of money, that they are accountable for it. And then they work out with their smaller clubs. So when we go to a village and we only do 500, we work with that local club. And some of those local clubs are just women, and there's just men, and there's just doctors, but they're usually pretty fantastic volunteers. We usually also take the opportunity, if there's anything in the area that's worth doing, we'll try to get up early and take the team. So this is Gokak Falls. In my opinion, this is the equivalent to Niagara Falls, but this is not the rainy season, and I'm not as brave as my husband. I did do the swing bridge across, and I did the swing bridge back. He did the swing bridge across, and he walked on the rocks across, and jumped over some of the streams. Neil didn't quite make it in one of those, and here I'm like, I'm a bad team leader. I let them do that. But one of the other most important things I feel in India and the place that we go is we go to tour the largest community kitchen. I'm blanking on the stats here, but I think they feed this one facility feeds 150,000 kids a day. They start at 2 or 3 in the morning, and they have a system of cooking rice and dal and everything like that, and they get it into trucks, and then they take it to the schools, because the school population is getting higher, because the kids have recognized they'll get fed at school. So they go to school to get fed and get an education. There's many reasons to give bed kits. You guys are all aware of this. Lots of people give them for any occasion. Last year, because of our anniversary, Or Insurance did a special thing, and they matched the kits up to 72 or 73 extra bed kits. So we did one group picture with Jeff and I. We were lucky enough, and I learned this early on in India, if they have the opportunity and they say to you, you should stay for this, I stay for that. So one year I did a wedding. This year Jeff and I did the Color Festival, and it was a tremendous experience. We got to be really integrated into their culture, and driving down the street that day, people were, bombing our car with water balloons and everything, and we went to a park, and they were just so joyful. It's the only time that everybody in the room behaved like a 5-year-old, and it was okay. This was the beginning of the festival. It's the night before. They have open burning fires all along the streets. It's the most bizarre thing. We've never seen anything like it, and I don't need to see it again, because it was a bit scary in some ways. And here is us playing again. If anybody can do the Color Festival, go to India and do the Color Festival once. And then we finished our trip by going to Goa. It's like the equivalent of our Grand Bend. And I do remember Jeff was like, okay, it's our anniversary. We're going to pay a little extra for a special room. And so he got the deluxe room. He arrived at the room and he went right back and he said, you gotta be kidding me. But I guess what he paid for is the space. And there wasn't like people crammed in amongst us. So that was a really nice experience to spend the night with that. And here's, I think our motto is, the world is changed by your example, not by your opinion. And I just feel very grateful to come here to Knox today to share this experience that Jeff and I had. We are more than welcome to answer any questions. And I would say the same as Jeff. If you ever do want to go on a trip, please contact Sleeping Children. You have to be interviewed, you have to be fit. It's a most rewarding experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's always, we hear about these things and we think we know exactly what it's all about, but to hear firsthand experiences always teaches us so much more. So thank you so much. And is there any better way to say thank you than to buy some bed kits for you? So we will continue with our service, and we will be singing verse 1 and 2 of hymn number 674, In the Bulb There Is a Flower.
We live within the abundance of God's grace when bread is broken, when love is lifted up, when generous hearts give great gifts, adding them one to the other. There is enough for all. Come share your gifts. The offering will now be received. Let us pray. Endless loving, endlessly creating God, we are a people who once had great dreams. We plan to bring your shalom, your peace, into our world. We intended to build the kingdom of God on earth. We believed that the hungry would be fed, the prisoner free, the lame would walk, and all would see your face. But somehow we lost hope. The vision faded. The need of the world seemed too great, and the gifts we would offer too small. Creating God tells us again the story of a mustard seed grown to a great tree. Tell us of the loaves and fish that made a banquet. Remind us that within your grace, small things have great value, that within your grace, the gift is multiplied, and it will be enough. Grant that we will see this world with compassion and offer to your service the gift of our hearts, time, talent, and money. This day we ask your blessing. This day we give you our concerns, the difficulties of our working world, a world that yearns for peace, a people suffering loss, all the broken ways of our everyday world, knowing that you will hold us in peace. We give to you our lives, all that we are, all that we have, knowing that you will hold us in love. These prayers we gather into one prayer, as with the words of Jesus we pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Save us from the time of trial and deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 717, We Cannot Own the Sunlit Sky. This is the moment for which we have come when our service of worship becomes service to others. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and always.